The first time I tried to open up my relationship, it blew up in my face. And then that story went viral and got over 1 million views on Instagram. Cool. In this video, I'm going to tell you what I did wrong so you can see the top mistakes that monogamous couples make when first trying to open up. I hope you'll be entertained by my mistakes so they don't become yours. Make sure to watch until the end because I'm going to share the #1 most important thing you need to do to avoid what happened to me. Thanks for watching. I'm Iseman, a relationship coach and certified communications specialist with a focus on open relating. I share science-backed, data-driven knowledge drops about human behavior, communication, and relationships. Whether you want to open up your relationship to include other people, or you just want to open up more authentically to each other, I want you to open up without blowing up. This channel shares all the lessons that I've learned the hard way, so you don't have to. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll get notified every time I post a new video about expansive relationships. In 2016, I started hinting to my then boyfriend of 2 years about my fantasies of bringing other people into bed with us. It didn't go well. He took it personally and got upset, thinking it meant that he wasn't enough for me, telling me that I was wrong for feeling this way. But I knew that wasn't the case. It wasn't coming from a place of lack. Quite the opposite. So I brought it up again, but this time I encouraged him to connect with someone on one of his many work trips. I asked him to send me a picture and then tell me everything afterwards. First mistake. We needed to have way more conversations, and ones that did not come from a place of me trying to convince him of anything before we took any action. Trying to convince or coerce your partner into doing something for you is a great way to create further division and alienation, and make them feel manipulated, like they're gonna lose you if they don't agree right away to do what you want. Instead, try getting curious about why they're feeling or reacting the way that they are, and invite them to get curious with you. Let them know that you're nervous and scared too. This is an opportunity to strengthen your bond, so treat it that way. You're in this together, aren't you? Soon after that, he ended up connecting with a woman at a hotel bar on one of his work trips. They sent me a cute photo and I was so excited. They ended up just staying up all night talking, which was very sweet, but we were on our way and I was super excited. Shortly thereafter, one of my friends was coming into town. We'd known each other for years and had a sexual history, and we both knew that there was nothing more to it than that for either of us. So to me, this felt like the perfect person to explore with. Someone I already knew and felt safe with, who had zero risk of turning into anything more. So I posed it to my boyfriend who was out of town on another work trip. Second mistake. My boyfriend and I didn't do a thorough check-in or a debrief after his initial experience. We didn't assess what worked for each of us and what didn't. There was no specific setup for aftercare, and we hadn't established any kind of reconnection ritual. This can look like showering together, having an intimate conversation, cuddling on the couch, having the sex, anything in between. This would have offered an opportunity to strengthen our bond and create a sense of comfort, connection, and familiarity. Despite all that, my boyfriend gave me what he called his green light. So I called my friend and we set up a night to play. And we had a great time. I ended up learning that my friend's last relationship had been open, which I didn't realize. And he shared about his experiences and all the benefits that it had brought to their relationship. That night became one of the most pivotal moments in my personal growth. It opened up a depth of love and commitment and loyalty and intimacy for my boyfriend that I didn't even know I was capable of. I thought I'd been loving to my fullest capacity in all of my relationships until then, but that night I learned that even more was possible. I had my first experience of expansive love, and I couldn't wait to share it with my boyfriend. Third mistake. We didn't create any specific agreements to honor each other's physical and emotional boundaries because we didn't know what they were since we never talked about any of them in the first place. All we said was that we would be having sex with people that weren't each other, and that we would be open to sharing about it afterwards if the other one wanted to hear. We didn't even define what sex meant to either of us, what our safer sex practices would be, how and when we wanted to hear about others, and so many other things that we should and could have established first to mutually respect the relationship that we were building with each other. Instead, we just jumped straight in with both feet and no swimming lessons. I called my boyfriend the second I left my friend's place. I was gushing with appreciation for him and for the love and trust that I felt from him, how it had opened up such a depth of feeling in me, and how pivotal a part of my experience he was. I was more than happy to tell him anything and everything he wanted to know, so I asked what he wanted to hear, and I was met with dead silence. I wasn't sure if the line had disconnected, so I asked if he was still there. More silence, and then all he said was,
"I can't believe you did it."
Fourth mistake. To this day, I still don't know if my boyfriend thought he would be okay with it and then in the moment realized he couldn't handle it, or if he had been testing me on purpose the whole time. Whether you're having an unexpected, undesirable reaction, or you're not sure or outright not okay with something, let your partner know. Do not test your partners. That puts them and you in oppositional roles, which means you're no longer partners, you're adversaries. No matter what the result is, no one wins, and you both deserve better than that. The uncomfortable moments, even and especially the scariest ones, are actually opportunities to lean in and be vulnerable together, creating moments for greater intimacy. Make sure that you're an inviting space for your partner to trust you with an uncomfortable truth about their experience. They shouldn't be afraid of your judgment. And if you're having an unpleasant experience or you're confused, show your partner that you trust them and value your relationship enough to share that vulnerability with them. Now you're in it together, whatever it may be. And that is the foundation of a bulletproof relationship. Now, before I tell you about the fifth and final mistake that could cost you everything, even if you do it all the right way up to now, let me tell you about what happened next. My relationship imploded. If I'm being honest, which I think you can tell by now is kind of my thing, there were other issues at play in the relationship, like poor communication, lack of emotional intelligence, controlling behavior, and anger management issues. But this experience was just rocket fuel to the dumpster fire. He proceeded to vacillate between cold shoulder and hurling insults at me for days. He questioned my moral and ethical foundation, my commitment to and love for him, accused me of sexual depravity, and an assortment of other helpful ways to waste time and air with someone that you say you love. As many mistakes as we had each made up to this point, I'm so proud of myself for at least knowing that I was in integrity with my word and action. But we were stuck in our own tornado, seemingly with no way out. And that's when we made what is often the biggest mistake that a newly open couple can make. We talked to the friends who had originally introduced us, another monogamous couple. This is that fifth and final mistake that can still destroy everything that you've worked so hard to maintain through this relationship transition: seeking the wrong support. Our experience here was actually quite lucky, beyond lucky, to be fair. Despite being staunchly monogamous and feeling this was something that they could never do themselves, our friends still firmly acknowledged that this was clearly something very real for me that I needed to explore and learn about myself. They reflected that my boyfriend had no business telling me that I was wrong for staying within our agreements, but that he did need to make the decision about whether this was an exploration that he wanted to join me for or not. This level of self-aware, non-personalized advice and reflection is not the norm. What happens more often than not is that well-meaning friends and family with no experience or knowledge on the subject will generally recommend that the distressed couple go back to monogamy, as there were no problems before they tried opening up in the first place. Non-monogamy is hardly, if ever, the reason a relationship comes to an end. Rather, it can shine a light on issues that were already there in the first place, but were easier to sweep under the assumptions of compulsory monogamy. Non-monogamy simply gives us the opportunity to look at those issues. It's how and if we address them that is what actually determines our fate. Getting the right support from experienced, educated, and informed peers and/or professionals is key to making sure that you have all the tools and resources you need to open up without blowing up. So what ended up happening between my boyfriend and I after that important conversation with our friends? After another ill-advised week or two of verbal and emotional abuse, my nervous system made leaving non-negotiable. I recognized that what my friends had said was true. This was real for me, and I needed to explore it. But I realized that I needed to explore it on my own. I didn't want any more emotional casualties on my conscience. That was all back in 2016, and I've learned a lot since then, which is why I've been able to spend years now living and loving openly in fulfilling multi-partner relationships. And it's why I work with couples who want to open up without blowing up, to make sure that my mistakes don't become theirs. I'll see you in my next video, where I talk about how non-monogamy isn't just a lifestyle choice, but it can also be an orientation. Do you know what your relationship orientation is? And if you want to see if the math adds up for you to open up, make sure to download my free tool, the Relationship Ratio, and check out the other resources in the links below to learn how I can help you open up without blowing up.